Hey, welcome to the first ever episode of Bottoms.com.com, the web series. And, oh, sorry, I just gotta get that real quick. Hello? Mr. Bottom Singh the Third? He owns this company. You're looking to move on from day-to-day management, but you want to do so in a unique and eccentric way? Well, have I got the solution for you, because today we are, oh no. I shouldn't have hung up on him like that, so, I'm gonna call him back, and when we return, we're gonna count down the bottom 5 companies that you should Willy Wonka to a child. Yes sir. What happened again? Yep, not a problem. Gotcha. Okay, love you too. Bye. Recently, I watched a very intriguing documentary about an eccentric businessman and candy magnate named William Wonka, who very late in his life decided to pass on his entire empire to a child. It was a very touching story about having a succession plan in place and the importance of estate management. As far as I can tell, there's never been a follow-up documenting what happened after the company changed hands, but gobstoppers are still on the shelf, so I assume this was a colossal success on both young Charlie and old William's part. This documentary did lead me to think about what other businesses could benefit from such a unique way of updating their leadership teams. Number one, as we all know, is monarch of a nation. The king passes away, and then the firstborn male child takes over, and it's just smooth sailing, baby! This has literally never failed. I guess the male thing isn't really that important ever since Randy Savage's valet, Miss Elizabeth, took over there in Wales, and that seemed to go alright, so I guess just the firstborn child is all you really need. Other areas don't seem like they would be as successful, and that's what we're here to cover today. So let's kick this list off with number 5, which is easily Toxic Waste Containment Center Manager. If you've ever watched a Batman animated series, you probably think that these places are already run by children. I mean, come on. Those open vats of acids and chemicals should really have some kind of lid on them, right? After all, that's how we got to Joker, baby! By that I mean Joker's love interest, Harley Quinn. Joker's backstory is a canonical mess. Maybe he fell in some chemicals, or maybe he just went on a talk show and went poorly. Potential supervillain origin stories aside, this also seems like the kind of industry where you should have a lot of training so you don't end up poisoning yourself, your employees, the local drinking water. And is a child prepared to sit through years of safety briefings to understand the difference between toxic in unventilated areas and toxic without proper protective equipment? I don't think that they are. And the third issue with this one is that if the owner decided to do a facility tour Willy Wonka style, the results would be vastly different. Here, close your eyes. Now imagine Augustus Gloop leaning a little too far over into a river of boric acid. Now, imagine his face melting off instantly and anyone near him inhaling toxins, thus being exposed to mesothelioma. That's a legal nightmare. You can't have your visitors having long-term exposure effects. Or melting people's faces off. That's also a bad thing. Number 4 is a number 2 HP pencil factory. Is there anything more boring? An entire factory dedicated to making one kind of pencil that's gonna just give this kid flashbacks to doing scantrons in his very limited time in school? I'm assuming once you get gifted a company, you're probably not going back to class to learn about mitochondria or whatever. That's beneath you now. And look, I'm sure there's plenty of minutia that goes into running a factory like this. But at the same time, once it's going, you kind of just have to keep it going. Like, the worst thing you can do is like come in there and start changing things willy-nilly. But if you've ever met a child, first of all, I'm sorry. And second of all, you know that's exactly what they're going to do. This little a-hole is going to waltz in there day one and be like, why don't we diversify our portfolio of offerings and include a variety of HBs ranging from numbers 1 through 10? Kids are the worst. Number 3 is a bow tie company. Bow ties? In this economy? What kind of fashion-forward kid is going to Macy's and poo-pooing the selection so hard that he starts his own company? Mosiah Bridges, that's who. That's right, I've included a real child CEO on this list. Dude literally started his own company, Mo's Bows, that makes bow ties, regular ties, and pocket squares. He gained some notoriety by going on Shark Tank, and I'm not gonna lie, his ties are dope. And yo Mo, if you're watching this, feel free to throw a sponsorship our way. Or some ties, but preferably a sponsorship. Now, I hear what you're saying out there. Why would you put him on the list of bottom companies to Willy Wonka to a child when he himself is a child and you clearly like the product? Simple. He started the company. He didn't get it from like Montgomery Wonka or something. So it'd be foolish for him to Willy Wonka to a different child by a disastrous factory tour. And what are the chances he finds another Mo to take over? What if like a Dan wins? What are you gonna call the company Dan's Boat? You can't. That doesn't make any sense. Dan's got to find his own alliterative niche, like Dan's Dictionaries or something, or Dan's Decepticons, or Dan's Dancers, or Dan's Tony Danzas. Dan, if you're watching this, start up Dan's Tony Danzas, where you have a company that sends out Tony Danza impersonators for like birthday parties or, I don't know, wakes. Does Tony Danza have a big, he's an older fella. I'm sure the demographic that wants Tony Danzas around, probably up there in age. Dan's Tony Danzas coming to a wake near you. Or Dan's Tony Danzas coming to a wakeboarding event near you. Hey, you can do it both ways. Dan's Tony Danzas for wakes and wakeboarding. It's a dual niche. Perfect for you, it's alliterative, and people will be like, whoa, that Tony Danza's super radical. He can both hang 10 and be there in my family's darkest moments. Woo! Dan's Tony Danza's. Number 2 is Vigilante crime fighting organization. Stepping back into the world of Batman for a second, adopting a child to follow in your footsteps of vigilante justice is, not a great idea, especially for Batman himself. This man has an astonishing 100% death rate for his Robins. But yeah, sure, all of them have come back at some point, but that just gives him a chance to bump that number over 100%. How are you going to get a Robin killed multiple times and still think this is a good idea? You, sir, call yourself the world's greatest detective. How can you not detect that this might not work out? That's also without going into the sheer amount of upkeep and costs that maintaining something like the Batcave would require. It is, after all, a giant underground cave that appears to be heated at all times. Gotham gets very cold in the winters, and I've never seen Bruce wear anything more than like a heavy sweater down there. So is it always heated, or is it like a preheat situation? So, but either way, the costs are going to be astronomical. Sure, Bruce can afford them because he's the billionaire owner of one of the largest companies in the world. A company he couldn't possibly give to Jason because the board would immediately veto that decision. Which means Robin only gets the most eccentric part of this empire. But at the end of the day, I think Robin might just be better off building his own team of superheroes, just like teenage, sure there's some mutants out there, get some X-folk in there. It's like teenage mutant, if they learn karate, they can be like teenage mutant ninja something or I don't know, I'm sure he'll figure it out. And number 1 is a social network. Social networks are basically places for people to be children anyways and yell about stuff, so putting a child in charge probably wouldn't change things that much. On the surface at least. Underneath, they could probably do a lot of damage. Here, hypothetically speaking, maybe on day 1 they'll show up carrying like a large sink and like monitor everyone's expression and just fire anyone who did not find that uproariously hilarious. Or try to convince everyone that they're hip with the kids by asking a 75-year-old author how much he's willing to pay for something that's been free for just throwing out numbers out there like 15 years or so. This is all hypothetical, of course. As we discussed earlier, the safest thing you can do is just keep things going the way that they are. But unfortunately, some kids just aren't that popular, so they might do things that go against the company's best interest. Not to say that you don't have friends. Obviously, at least half of your friends are real people, not robots. To say otherwise would be insane. And even if they were, I'm sure you have a plan in place to like deal with that. Like if you were to throw up polls to get the voice of the people, like you want to be getting the voice of the people, not voice of like AI or Terminators or anything. You don't want the opinion of Terminators. I feel like Terminators have one specific opinion, and it's to terminate. It's in the name. The name is a red flag in itself. If your number 1 source of information is Terminators, I'd look for a second opinion from the opposite of whatever a Terminator is. What would be the opposite of Terminator? An unterminator? Reterminator? Determinator? Yeah. We're gonna go with Determinator. So you either want to get your opinions from a wide range or group of people, or just run the AI spectrum between Terminator and Determinator. And yeah, there you have it. That's bottom 5 companies that Willy Wonka to a child. If you think I missed anything, feel free to leave it in the comments. Hit that like button if you liked it. Subscribe. Share it with your favorite candy magnate. And yeah, seems like this company is about to go through a transitional period, so I got a lot of paperwork I got to handle here, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.